This is the weekly sales meeting for December 25th, 2022. My name is Chris Fleming. You can reach me at chris@cdmediaconsulting.com or go to our website at cdmediaconsulting.com. Today's topic is Mind the Gap. In 1968, the London Underground was the first place to introduce the vernacular mind the gap. It was the phrase of caution for riders to watch out for the space between the platform and the train. As some platforms are curved and the trains flat, it created an unsafe gap for passengers to traverse. Before, this caution was left to train operators, but that action had become impractical. The phrase mind the gap was chosen as this warning. It is painted along the edges of the curved platforms. As a reinforcement, equipment was installed complete with a public address system. A recorded voice warned riders of the arriving train. It warned them to mind the gap when the train arrived. As sellers, we too should mind the gap. In our world, that means cutting down the time frame of contact. Cut down the gap between the first phone call and the first meeting. Cut down the gap between contacts. Cut down the gap between the first meeting and the second. Cut down the gap between the presentation, the ask, and the decision. The longer that time frame, the more likely the end result will be no sale. Founding father Ben Franklin said lost time is never found again, and we often squander opportunities. We do so by living too long inside our own heads. We convince ourselves that tomorrow is always a better time to do whatever it was than right now. As if by some miracle, more action will take place after a delay to tomorrow. If we look at the characteristics of top-performing sellers, procrastination is never on the list. Reducing the time gap requires advanced planning. It requires taking control of the customer conversation. It requires establishing a timeline for the opportunity and a destination for success. It is planning, pure and simple. Without a plan, time drifts. No one's sense of urgency will ever be as great as yours, so it would make sense to plan and maintain control over the outcome. As Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. But that does not lead to progress, and it doesn't lead to success. A wise man once told me someone gets sold on every call. As the process moves, it either goes forward or backward. Forward if you succeed in advancing your cause, backward if your prospect succeeds in the delay. Much of that is time dependent. If you can add urgency to the ask, you can control the time element. When your prospect fails to see an advantage of acting, a delay is the outcome. It is one of the challenges of the sales profession, aligning the needs of our company and our sales franchise with the needs of our prospects and customers. Time is a commodity that varies from opportunity to opportunity. As playwright Tennessee Williams identified, time is the longest distance between 2 points. The better we get at controlling this variable, the more successful we will become. And much of this comes with experience. The more you do it, the more you begin to recognize the tactics of delay. The more you do it, the more you can begin to control the timeline from the beginning. You know from the opening conversation how you need to structure the exchange. In this configuration, you will deliver the outcome you desire, the one you know will be the most beneficial to your customers in the long term. There are some things you can do, but only if you have discipline. John F. Kennedy wrote, "We must use time as a tool, not a couch." Here are some ways to make time an arrow in your quiver. You can and should add an expiration date to every offer. If that date passes and no decision is made, you cannot return with the same offer at a lower price, as you will have established that the customer can wait you out for lower pricing, and they will do so from now on. The offer has to either contain fewer elements or more value at a higher price in the next round. Use a price increase with your deadline. This is available in its current form until Friday at $2,000. After that, it goes up to $3,000. You have heard of the idea of FOMO, fear of missing out. What is the fear in your offer? What is missed if a decision gets delayed? Use this to tip the scale in your favor. This is where using what you have learned in the discovery process works for you. Frame the offer in terms of how it solves the problem for your customer. And then the fear of missing out is not solving that identified problem. There is a definite reason to avoid the delay. It was Leonardo da Vinci who said time stays long enough for anyone who will use it. We in the sales profession need to use it to be successful. Top performers in sales know that time can be their friend if it arrives as such. You can be assertive and take control of the process. You can tell your customers what is going to happen next. I am going to give you until Wednesday to decide. I will be here Thursday morning at 10:15 for your decision. If you want to move forward before that date, call me and we'll get started. You can be enthusiastic about your product and its ability to solve a customer's issue, but beware of being disingenuous. More and more people can spot inauthenticity coming from miles away. Scarcity in resources is a great time accelerator, but it only works if it is true. Because of others in the sales profession, many buyers don't believe you. All are based on past experiences with those that are not honest brokers. So if you are going to use scarcity as an element of your presentation, it has to be honest. Since the dawn of time, human beings have been bad at managing it. It gets worse when we add other people to the conversation. Everyone brings their own baggage. Founder of Pennsylvania, William Penn, wrote, "Time is what we want most, but what we use worst." But we can get better at managing it in sales. No matter your product, we can create fear of loss and cost of delay. These are much more effective than hope of gain. I swear that only exists in Powerball and on the Las Vegas Strip after 2 tequilas. Practice holding the time discussion. We don't practice our craft enough. We rely on live fire exercises to be our proving ground. Here's a hint: don't practice on your customers. Time is an expiring element in our lives. Filmmaker David Russell said the present is a point just passed. While we are talking, an opportunity is passing. Now you cannot handle them all, so be sure the ones you decide to take on are worth both your time and effort. Evaluate what your time is worth. Once you know that numerical value, the amount you are willing to invest and what you charge for it may come into clearer focus. It will help you recognize those that want to work with you for your true value, and it also weeds out those that want to put you through the paces with no intention of working with you. Until you know your true value, it will always be assigned to you by your worst deal, not your best. Don't be defined that way. Hold your value. In fact, define it yourself. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Don't wait. The time will never be just right. If we are waiting for all conditions to be perfect, that clock will run out on our game. For us to be successful, we need to manage time for our prospects and customers. We need to create urgency in the offer. We need to speed up the decision-making process by cutting down the gaps in contact, not by being a complete pest, but by being a seller of value, a creator of solutions that have an expiration date, by building offers that have direct customer solutions, and an illustrated opportunity cost of delay. If you're ever in the London Underground, mind the gap will have a whole new meaning. In your sales franchise office, it will create the same change. In London, you will watch your feet. It will save your life. In sales, you will watch your offers. They will turn into more orders. My new book, You Can't Lead from the Back of the Room, Nor Should You, is now available on Audible as an audiobook download. If you like what you have heard here today, please consider downloading a copy. Or two, you can always send one to a friend. You can go to cdmediaconsulting.com right now and follow the instructions to order.